What's up, Packers fans? Mark Oldacres back here with another Packers prospects video ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. And today we're moving on to the linebacker position. Obviously a position that's going to be of importance for the Packers this year in this year's draft. They really need some help there. Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie are kind of penciled in right now to be your starters going into week one of the 2024 season. So you can bet that they're going to pick up at least one, if not two linebackers in this draft. And today we're going to talk about 5 guys who I think are the types of players that are going to be on Green Bay's board. Okay, first of all, let's look at the preferences, the things that the Packers like from linebackers. And for the Packers, linebacker is one of the most, athleticism is one of the most important things at this position. It's one of the positions where they value athleticism the most highly among all the kind of different positions in the draft. I mean, there's just really high percentiles all over the place here. I mean, at least in terms of since Brian Gutekunst has been the GM, the slowest linebacker that they've drafted ran a 4.61, which is the 86th percentile. So they like them fast. The 1.62 10-yard split is the lowest. That's the 75th percentile. 10 foot 1 inch broad, 82nd percentile. They are at least 6'1 and a fifth tall, which is 53rd percentile, and at least a 4.39 or better shuttle drill, which is the 52nd percentile. So they really like their athletes at this position. Obviously, we know that, them drafting Quay Walker in the first round, who is a super athlete. So let's jump into 5 players that I think kind of fit the bill of what they're generally going to be after. First up is Edgerrin Cooper. Now, this is not a name that's going to be a surprise to anybody. He is consensus just about maybe the top linebacker in the draft. Not consensus a first round pick, although I would not be surprised whatsoever if the Packers ended up taking him there. 6'2", 230 pounds, 9.13 relative athletic score, or RAS. Elite speed, he ran a 4.51. And the splits were very good as well. Good explosion and agility scores too. He's a really fluid athlete. You definitely see it on tape. You see the explosiveness, and it's just so easy. He just kind of glides around the field so easily. And he does show throughout his kind of portfolio that he put together at Texas A&M the ability to do every part of linebacker play. He has the ability to be a 3-down linebacker at the next level. I wouldn't say the tape actually really wowed me that much. I was kind of expecting a bit more given kind of the hype around him, but I guess if his tape was better, he'd be a first round pick, I suppose. I think he just needs some more consistency, but there's no doubt that he can do it all. So it's just a case of that development and getting him in a good situation with good coaching, and hopefully you get that kind of upper level of what he can be out of him. Second is Peyton Wilson from NC State. This is the consensus number 2 linebacker. It's kind of between Cooper or Wilson, who's going to be the first linebacker off the board, really. What goes against Wilson is probably his injury history, and he's a little bit older, so that could knock him down a little bit. But nevertheless, 6'3" and 2/3, 233 pounds. So he's a big linebacker. 9.89 RAS, and I don't think people knew he was that athletic, but that was a little bit of a surprise to see in that kind of upper echelon. Elite speed, he ran a 4.43 at the combine, which is crazy really at that position. Elite agility scores as well, good size and explosion scores. He's pretty sound. He's a pretty sound linebacker on tape. Again, he can do everything. He's got the capability to be a 3-down linebacker. In coverage, you kind of see him, he's in the right place a lot. He doesn't always make the play. He's maybe not got, it's as silly as it sounds with that athleticism that he showed, it doesn't always manifest itself on tape where he just has enough to go make that big play. He tackles well, but there's some issues with the run game stuff. Personally, I think at his age, I think he turns 24 this year, I expected to see some things be better, kind of the diagnosis skills and just the instincts and the feel for what's happening out there and reacting to things a bit quicker. But there's no doubt he's a really solid linebacker. He's probably going to be, again, a round 2 pick and could be a very good linebacker in the league. Now we're moving on to the next section, and it is a big gap here between those 2 guys and then 3 guys who are kind of meh. Like the tape wise was just not, it was fine, it wasn't great, it wasn't super impressive, but they are athletes, and that is what obviously the Packers want, and maybe guys they can pick up a little bit later in the draft. First of all is Curtis Jacobs from Penn State, 6'1 and a third, 241 pounds, 8.47 RAS. He had elite speed score, even though he only ran a 4.58, which is slower than what Adrian Cooper ran. The splits were better for him, the 20-yard split and the 10-yard split. He had great explosion, good size scores as well. I mean, yeah, he's just mid. Like, he's just fine. Like, there's really nothing special about him on tape for me. But with that athleticism, again, the hope is, and it's going to be the same with these other two guys, that with development, they can do everything because their body, the athleticism in their body, allows them to do everything with development down the line. Worst case, they turn into special teamers, and good special teamers, hopefully. Jalen Ford from Texas is the next one, 6'2 and 2/3. 240 pounds, so again, a kind of bigger guy there, 8.30 RS, good size and speed. Now the speed, he ran a 4.71 at the combine, which is still technically good speed. It still put him with the splits that he had in the good category. It's obviously not as good as these other guys. At his pro day, he allegedly ran between a 4.63 and a 4.68. Whether that's just pro day inflation, who knows? But either way, if it's 4.71, if it's 4.63, if it's 4.68, it's slower than any linebacker that the Packers have drafted since Brian Gutekunst has been there. But you go back not too far before that, and of course Gutekunst is a Ted Thompson disciple. They drafted Blake Martinez in the middle rounds, in the 4th round, and he ran a 4.71. So which is exactly the same as what they have for Jalen Ford from his combine numbers. So it's probably not going to be a deal breaker, I would think, because the rest of his athleticism is good. Explosion and agility scores were good as well. Again, he just seems fine. He's fine. The tape is fine. It's not anything notable. It's not anything special. You can have this a lot with like linebacker play these days. They're mopping things up. They're making the tackles they're supposed to make. They're not really making big plays. That's what these guys are that we're talking about at this point. And the last one, and I'm scared of this guy, Trevin Wallace from Kentucky, 6'1", 237 pounds, 9.34 RAS. Elite explosion, great speed. He ran a 4.51. No agility drills though. He didn't do those. So that obviously, if those have been bad, they could have dragged the RAS score down. I just don't get it. Like, I didn't really see much on tape with him at all. And okay, maybe I didn't see the kind of the real upper echelon games, like the best games that he played. But I saw kind of around the average games of what his PFF grades, for example, were over his time in college. And those aren't, the be all and end all by any means. But there's talk about this guy going in kind of maybe the 3rd round or earlier. The 3rd round, I could probably just about stomach it, but there was a mock draft published yesterday where he was given to the Packers in the 2nd round. I would be throwing up if they picked this guy in the 2nd round. And listen, if they take him, and at this point I've basically accepted that they are going to, there seems to be a lot of smoke around that. Of course, I'll get on board, dive into even more of the tape and just try and pick out the positives. But right now, I just didn't see on the tape the ability that warrants what we're talking about here in a day 2 pick. But again, the athleticism is all there, and by all accounts, he was more impressive at the Senior Bowl. And again, they're talking about what can you do. It is about projecting forward. At the end of the day, we can't lose that fact of it. And he has the potential, if he develops, to be able to do all of these things, to do everything you need a linebacker to do and to do it well. I just think of the linebacker position as more of an instincts position. I don't really see that he has those right now. Can you teach those? I'm not sure. But he's also only 21 years old. It's worth the gamble. They'll probably end up taking him, or he'll end up going to somebody higher than I think he should. But there's no doubt he has the potential to be a good player down the line. All right, that's 5 linebackers that I think the Packers are going to be interested in the 2024 NFL Draft. Let me know in the comments section below any linebackers you think I missed or any that you like and would like the Packers to draft. Leave a like and subscribe to Cheesehead TV. You can catch my writing over on Cheesehead TV. I write on Tuesdays and Fridays. And go Pack Go.